I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
That'd be a fun thing to do, is to go back to this Batman The Adventure Continues book by Alan Burnett and Paul Dini, writing it like it's a classic continuation of the Batman animated series. Kind of no different than the X-Men 97 thing, just done in Batman style and so on. And I'm actually kind of surprised that this book passed by us, because I think it said it came out in 2018, or that's when at least it started.
Yeah, well, I remember I knew about it coming out, and then when they were first releasing it, I mean, now it's available and there's full-on chapters, but I remember when they first released it, I think, if I remember correctly, they released it very cheap, and they only released like a couple pages at a time. It was meant to be like, here's the first part of this issue, here's the first part of that issue, and they didn't just release the whole full issue. It was just little micro bits, and I was like, oh, what the fuck, because when you just want to, and one issue is already not a lot, and I just remember being just very short like that, and like, I'll get back to this thing, and then like 4 years went by, and then you said, hey, it's all ready to go on Comixology. I'm like, all right, cool, let's check this out. And plus, before we get too far into this, I want to say that we will be my kid's gonna be born soon, so not today. I don't think today. I don't know if I hear screaming. If I hear screaming upstairs, I guess so. But no. But like, I know that we've been.
What happened to his eyes? What happened to his eyes?
Oh, all right. Well, shit. Well, this is gonna be a pain. All right. Well. That is going to be the daycare's problem for a while, if that's the case. Just rolling them around in like a little like black bassinet or whatever. No, all gothic looking and shit. No. Anyway, no, there's a possibility that, because I know that lately the podcast schedule has been a little spotty, and that's on me, and it might be even more spottier in the future. So the show's not done, but there may be a little bit of a leave of absence, or Spencer might have to put on like unreleased episodes via VHS or get someone else to fill in for me for a little while. But managed to find some time for this one, and you picked this one out, and I'm really glad we did this, because it was something like, I don't know if I have the time to do it, but I sat down, like, I'm just going to do it. We haven't done it recorded in a while, and this looks good. And I read it, and like, I figured it would be good. And for the first few pages that I read when I first got the first digital release, like the first part of the digital release, like, this is good, but it'd be nicer to get more than like 6 or 10 pages at a time or whatever. It wasn't 6. It wasn't a lot though. And I was like, oh, this is really fucking good. Then I realized, it's Alan Burnett and Paul Dini are the writers on it.
Well, and I think that's what makes it different, because, there's a lot of comic books out there nowadays where they do the continual of the show. There was, of course, X-Men 92, and then there was that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one. I think it's called the Saturday Morning whatever cartoon, or it has a title like that. And a lot of times, it's not, they're not bad, but there's like this uncanny thing that makes them feel like they're slightly off. It's that classic thing of like, it's somebody else's interpretation, and they just don't get the formula like 100%. They're like 90% of the way there, but there's just enough to make you kind of go, this seems a little bit odd and different, which I feel by the fact this has Alan Burnett and Paul Dini is why these Batman ones just feel like, it just feels like more episodes. Like, and then the writing's good, and it's consistent, and it feels just like the same. It's different when you sort of have, the best way to sort of say it is fan fiction, in a sense, going through somebody else's like filter, and then them putting on like the way that they sort of experience the TV show. Because that's the thing about any kind of like show or anything like that. We all kind of like interpret it a little bit different than the next person. So even if you're like a humongous fan of something, you could still put out stuff that feels a little bit odd and off because it's going through a different reel of everything. But this feels just like, no, this is just this is like literally season 5.
And coming from someone who's never read Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning or X-Men 92, I mean, those names distinguish it so you know which versions they are. But I feel like, in all honesty, even though I like X-Men, and I really liked X-Men 97, I think X-Men 97 was the right balance, because it felt more like, I feel like X-Men 92, what I saw of it and what you told me of it, it sounded more like it's 90s and it's the X-Men and they have the designs from the cartoon. And that seems to be kind of like, I'm sure it would have been a fun read, but it didn't seem like it was like really pushing things forward, where X-Men 97 actually says it's gonna still be a little campy, it's still gonna be a little soap opera-y, but it's going to also mature with its audience, and there's going to be like heavier, darker themes, and the characters are actually going to die off, and we're actually going to go out of our way with the budget and the animation. And then so 97 is a good example, but Saturday Morning in 92 and X-Men 92, like, I don't know, just because by this point I've read a lot more Ninja Turtles, and even though Saturday Morning has got me into the door, it's not the best interpretation, and it's not the best version of them. So to kind of go like, we're going to do the footy wacky stuff, it just seems a little kind of like nostalgia baity in that way, where something like Batman, the animated series, was really good from the get-go, and it's been kind of like definitive Batman for a lot of people. So the idea of like more of that, yeah, we're going to make references, but it's just there's nostalgia to it, but it feels sincere.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those ones. It's done so well. And then the other thing too, it topped it off, is this book where, like, on Kindle at least, I just was kind of scrolling through, just looking for stuff, and then I saw the price was like $250. I'm like, well, maybe it's just it's got to be like a single issue or something like that, or it's a real short book. And I was like, it's a 200-page book, and it's like, and then I saw the price. I was like, oh, I can get all three of them for like $6. I'm like, well, give me all three graphic novels. It was like one of those ones. And then I kind of realized there was a handful of other Batman books where they were selling them for close to like, like less than $5 for like some nice graphic novel ones and so on. Where you almost like kind of like, I own this in physical, but at $4, sure, I'll take a digital copy of it. Why not? You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's just that one where like makes you wonder, like, well, like, okay, are they just realizing that like comics are dipping, so they just need to like let's milk this a little bit, kind of like when like a new Nintendo system comes out, they go, okay, we need a little bit of cash to get our gears rolling back again after the Wii U. So here's the thing, we're just gonna sell all our big heavy hitters for $20.
Well, it's also it's something to the effect of. I don't know. I'm not sure if this book is still going on, because I wouldn't mind circling back to the series and covering it again, assuming we have the time for it, and down the line. There's a lot of things we were going to do. We were going to cover Monkey Man. We were going to cover the new Planet of the Apes movie, but time got by us,
we're going to do a Punisher section too, and like it's like one of those ones I even asked you that before we did this book. I was like, well, we could do the Punisher stuff. Like, yeah, that was like 3 weeks ago or whatever. We watched that. Like, we probably should watch it again. I'm like, yeah, that's probably true.
I got to rent it again. Yeah, I haven't even seen Furiosa yet, but I've been delayed on everything. But yeah, I got to see that still. But
Furiosa and Bad Boys 4 are both extremely good.
Oh, Bad Boys 4 is out?
Dude, Bad Boys 4 is so good, too.
Oh, my God, fuck.
Yeah, it came out last week.
I didn't know that was out yet.
Yeah, that one is great, and then I like Furiosa quite a bit, too. I like Furiosa so much that I got this big, I wish I had it sitting over there. I bought the big, fat, like, special edition cup that goes with it, because they started bringing back all, like, the movie tie-in stuff. So I was like, dude, give me a Furiosa one. I want that. And I had to really, like, make the boy work hard there at the theater, because it's like, can I get the special lid? Can you give me a special straw? I'm paying $15 for this. Believe me, I want all the cool stuff.
Can I get the swirly straw that has like a war boy hanging off it, throwing a spear, like it's a fucking X-Men thing or something?
So you had to kind of work that there, but which is kind of neat. It seems like every movie, like Planet of the Apes, has some really badass like popcorn tins. I really kind of almost wanted to get one. It's like a metal tin. It's got a bunch of apes just looking ready for war on the side.
Have you, I mean, this is be old news by this point, but have you seen what the Wolverine and Deadpool popcorn bucket is?
No, not yet. They haven't brought that one out yet.
It's going to sell out quickly wherever it goes. And they're like, oh my God, you guys are going fucking ballsy. You guys, because, people were made jokes about people wanting to fuck the Dune bucket because it looked like a prolapsed asshole because it was like the worm sticking out with all the teeth and all that. So people like... to fuck with that, people literally made like a popcorn bucket of Wolverine's mouth going, oh. It says designed by Deadpool on the side of it.
Oh, that is so cool. I hope that comes to Regal. I have a feeling that probably won't, because it seems like each one, there's like different...
Might be a county thing.
Theater. Well, yeah, I don't even think it's a county thing. I think it's just each cinema has like different ones based on, whether they have Pepsi or Coke and all that kind of stuff. There's so much like hierarchy of how this all like trickles down.
Well, I'm just imagining like so many kids like wanting that just because it's Wolverine, but the parents are like, you don't get it, Billy. Shit. Like it's like, oh no, I fucking get it.
Yeah, it's like one of those ones. Well, it's like once you mentioned that Dune sandworm thing, I'm like, what? That wasn't there when I was there. They did not have that. I would have bought that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite part about Dune is the sandworms. I really in the day, like that's what I've kind of come to the conclusion. I'm like, that's what I really like about Dune. I love the sandworms. More sandworms.
I still gotta watch part 2.
Yeah, you know.
Anyway, but we'll get to this. So we're not gonna do it for those. If you're listening, you can still listen. But for those who are watching the video, we're not gonna do a read along. We're gonna flip through the book on digital, more just to remind us kind of how it goes along. Because usually, whenever we do this, we flip through it anyway. Like, might as well just show it if we're gonna do that. So.
Well, plus this was a big book too. As I said, it was almost like the equivalent of like 2 normal graphic novels because I felt like even the issues themselves, like it's only 8 issues, but they felt like each issue felt like almost like an issue and at least a quarter. Like they were some hefty ones, you know.
I want to say the first issue because I want to say they're like mini issues that built up to a bigger issue. So the first one I read, it ended on the cliffhanger with like Batman fighting the robot. I don't think it ended with him going against Brainiac, but it was something like him coming across Lex Luthor or something to that effect. So jumping ahead here, but yeah, I guess we'll get into it.
But yeah, the cool thing about this too is that you know, kind of right off the bat, like they'll throw some classic villains in there, but then like each time it's like, well, here's a character that we just never got to put into the TV show, so now we're going to kind of write them in as if they, you know, now exist in that season 5, I guess it would be, you know.
And there's some real deep cut characters, like characters that, yeah, A, never made it to the show, B, characters Paul Dini made in the mainline comics, but they just, let's hit, how would they look in animated form? Or
yeah, exactly.
Animated, or Bruce Timm style.
Yeah, Bruce Timm style, you know, and even just kind of bringing in some other kind of stuff there.
Well, even this beginning where kind of like where Batman is going up against Bane, like there is some of the nostalgia stuff, but I honestly think that it does a good job of like utilizing the characters, like this whole part where he's going against Bane, and then immediately when the robot comes up right after he fights Bane, I'm going to say the robot looks a little kind of like generic in design, but as it goes on, you kind of realize, oh, this is why. But at the exact same time, it looks a little, you know, and immediately I'm going to say, when Batman after Batman's fighting Bane and he comes across the robot, the guy they show in the shadows, did you immediately know that was Jason Todd?
Yeah, I pretty much came to the conclusion like kind of early on, like I bet you that's going to be Jason Todd, you know, because it just felt like he had the Robin-y kind of look to him, and he's kind of like hunkering around. I was like, it was one of those ones I was like, if it's somebody else, I feel like then they're really pulling the fast one on you, you know. But I just think I'm like, you know what? They never had Jason Todd in there, and I kind of like, even though this jumps ahead farther, but I like when they kind of bring Jason Todd in there. They do it like sort of like, okay, you know, the in between season 3, if you're looking at the DVD sets, I guess, and then season 4 where the animation changes, that was like the little period where like the Jason Todd thing kind of fits in, which I thought that was kind of a cool way to go about it too.
Because we don't see Batman and Nightwing fall apart. We just jump ahead and Nightwing and Batman are doing their own thing. And then like he says like very dismissively, like, you know, fuck Batman, you know, and then we later find out like, why don't you guys get along?
TVY7.
Fuck. Well, that was I wasn't even trying to make a meme. That was a meme for that Titans show where like, oh, this is the Titans show. This is
just it's TVMA. You got to sign a waiver to watch this show.
Yeah, let's see your mortgage, kids, you know. So and then like you know, like Edge, like a, you know, 22-year-old detective Grayson is Robin. He's like, fuck Batman. Oh, what? You know. So I don't know, I couldn't get past the first episode of that show, but you know, in the animated series though, when he's all like, yeah, fuck Batman, I don't do that no more, and then they have the flashback of what happened. Like, okay, so that unintentionally, I'm sure wasn't planned that way, but this at least makes it so like, okay, there's a way we can still see like us to go back retroactively and add things in.
Yeah, because that's the kind of the interesting thing about when they do the animation switch, is it does have that feeling like, okay, there was like, you know, a year or two a couple of years maybe in between here, if not few years, but the interesting thing here is like they got multiple stuff. Like the kind of cool thing is like, you know, the Jason Todd thing builds up from multiple issues and so on like that. And then even this robot here too is one of those things that comes back, further into like, I think even the second issue or something like that, like what that's even being powered by and whatnot. So there is some neat kind of twists and stuff they'll throw in here where, I mean, you kind of, once I saw it was like, you got Lex Luthor showing up and Bruce was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He always tells me when he shows up, that motherfucker. Just coming into town, not saying a word. Like, I mean, I mostly drop everything to go see what the hell he's up to because, you can't trust Lex. If he's showing up, he's got reason.
It took me a second to remember if he knew he was Batman in this version. And like, obviously he doesn't the way they're talking. But I do appreciate that they just have Lex in there and even go as far as having him in the kryptonite armor going against Batman. And it's a lot of the planting, like things they say, like they're at a party, like, hey, so like he said, like, oh, I know all about your reputation in Metropolis. Like, oh, I don't believe everything you read in the Planet. Like, oh, well, what did the Boy Scouts say? Oh, Boy Scout hasn't been around for a while. Like, you just think that's very dismissive. Oh, Justice League ship. And like, oh, dude, that's going to come back in a way you won't expect later. But and even on this cliffhanger where it's actually, how many pages is this? Are we on right here with the Brainiac's head? Yeah. So that's what I think it was, like 17 pages. I think they came out like in short bursts like that. Maybe it was Brainiac's head, but they ended on. But that's like a big jump right there. You're not expecting to see like issue 1. Who's the villain? Lex Luthor, and he's using parts of Brainiac. Like what? And I think that's kind of smart because I feel like that. I do think that what's coming up at the beginning of the next issue is a little bit of a lost opportunity because we don't get to see Batman fight Lex Luthor that often, at least in the animated series. Like there may be a moment where he was getting tossed around when he was like infected with Brainiac in Justice League, but we never really got to see much of that like in the animated series too much,
Yeah, no, there wasn't a whole lot of, combo of all that kind of coming in there together. So it is kind of neat that it starts off right at the bat, it's, beginning of Batman, but we got pretty much like a crossover Batman-Superman story going on here. And you're just wondering where Superman is. So the second they kind of said, like, yeah, he's on the dark side of the moon. I haven't seen him for a long time. I'm like, okay, something happened to Superman.
Yeah. I'll be honest, maybe I'm just like a dumbass, but I was like, something happened to Superman. I was like, oh, it's just something happened. Like he's just doing Superman shit. He's fighting Mongol. He's on Warworld. He's doing Darkseid. He's fighting against Darkseid or some shit like that. Like, oh no, it's coming back. And then they go in. I mean, I'm going to say it's fan service, but I mean, I feel like it's fan service that works. Like these like, okay, well, if I'm going to go against like a robot that's powered by Brainiac and Lex Luthor's at the fucking steering wheel, I need some heavy shit. So he goes and he gets the suit from Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, which I think is kind of cool little like crossover thing there. Plus just the fact that you could kind of have that in there because it reminds me of almost like in a TV show, especially in the 90s, like you would have that, you could sell 2 figures. You could sell like a dual pack of where it's like Lex Luthor versus Batman, and the suit of armors and so on.
Yeah. I mean, that was also the thing, though. They'd always make action figure packs of things that like never appeared in the show. But this would have been something like that would have been cool. You'd be more like, I just want regular Batman. Where's regular Batman? It was just so hard to find regular Batman. You might be able to find one regular Robin, but you can never find regular Batman.
Yeah,
so
you always got Batman in like urban camo with a crossbow for some reason, like.
Snow variant.
No cape. He was always missing the cape. That was the other thing that bothered me too as a kid. Like, why is he always missing the cape on so many of these outfits?
I remember I had like parachute air jumper Batman, where it was an animated series, and he was in a bright orange jumpsuit with the bat symbol on it with a parachute. I'm like, okay, come on, he's Batman. Why would he have a bright orange pair? I hope no one sees me, I hope it's like, so
it's when he's parachuting in front of the sun down and everybody's looking up and you're like, oh, what is that? What are you doing looking at the sun? Yeah, that's probably what he is. You make the backdrop the sun when you come down on him.
Exactly. But yeah.
You make sure you're parachuting at high noon.
Yeah. Very, very slim window here, okay? So
yeah, make sure that there's a gun draw going on down at the OK Corral, just to keep everybody distracted as you come floating down in your neon orange work suit. Maybe if you got Caltrans out there working on the roads, you'll fit in once you land down with them.
I like the idea he just like slowly drifts on and gets like caught into just being very still, like everyone just focused on this other thing over here, and this parachute slowly just drifts on and gets caught like on a phone line. No one notices, just slowly hanging there, just slowly unbuckles himself and just like sneaks around like, holy shit, it fucking worked.
I would love to see a series that like, even if it's just in a comic book form, where it's like, okay, so here's the thing. You have to utilize all these Batman variant costumes effectively in a story. It can't be jokingly. You have to like make them all work.
I think there's got to be
challenge.
There's got to be 2 or 3 at least. I'm being generous. I'm being conservative. You got to have at least 2 or 3 like funny ones. There's no way around it. Like snow variant. Snow variant that shoots that's also a flamethrower. Come on. The skis or whatever.
I guess here's the thing. Batman plays it straight. That's how it could be. It could be funny when you're reading it, but it's like Batman's got to play it straight. Like he chose this for a specific reason. This is why. Like he can back it up, is what I'm saying.
To go back to Ninja Turtles one where they have all their variants, and you could do like, oh cool, this is where they're like robot samurais. This is where they're like in a horror universe. This is one where they're doing like
this is a Ninja Turtles where they're in a horror universe.
No, horror unit, like horror monsters, like, like monsters.
Like,
yeah.
They're like some red light.
Michelangelo's putting on some lipstick. They're listening to Roxanne. They're like adjusting like fake tits. Yeah. No, horror as in like Friday the 13th or whatever. or when they have like the sports variants, then you get ones where after a while it gets ridiculous. Like, guys, what the fuck are we doing? Like, we got to use them all. Like, all right. They're farmers this week. Fine,
Oh yeah, the farmer one. I remember that was always such a bizarre one.
Look, he shoots a carrot.
Yeah, one of those things. You always have the weird weapon too. The person who's designed that. There's like those those kids that kind of grow up and it's like that's their favorite part. They just like the weird, like putting things in weird, wacky things that make no real logical sense. They could almost care less about the story. They like the costume part more.
I remember because I just looked at them. I never had one, but I remember when Dark Knight came out and they had to make action figures off that. First off, they had to scale back Joker. They had to make him look less freaky. And he had like two or three variants of Jokers and like 3 or 4 variants of Batman. And then they had Two-Face, and Two-Face had like a big coin gun. And I'm just imagining like a gun that shoots like a big coin. And then like I'm just imagining the end of the movie where it's basically no longer a superhero movie. It's just a straight drama. And he's like pointing a gun at a kid's head. And it's just like this big goofy fucking bazooka with a coin at the end. And he's just like, make your choice, Gordon. Like I made my choice. Lie. And he's just like, everyone's like, God, it's like, it's really hard for me to work with this, Chris. It's really hard to fucking like, first off, just to hold the thing, get the kid in the right position. And then secondly, I mean, how can I make this serious? It's a bazooka with a coin on it. Like, come on, you can do it. You can do it.
It's okay. You're going to shoot somebody against the wall with it and they're going to splatter all over, smash them by this giant coin.
We're going R with it. Yeah, fuck that.
We're taking it hardcore. We're doing the kids' toy thing, but we're going to make it very brutal and violent.
We're going to make it accurate, So when a kid says, he never shoots a fucking toy like a giant coin, fuck you. Yes, he does.
Yeah, exactly,
But going back to this book, I do think it's kind of interesting how quickly they just, because we find out Superman's inside the robot and he's being controlled by Lex Luthor, who is using Brainiac tech. I do think it's kind of interesting. The first thing out the door in this new series is like a Superman crossover, and it's actually the weakest story. I think it's not even bad. It's enjoyable. It's good.
Yeah,
but it's really the weakest story.
Well, I felt like this comic kind of revs up is how it kind of goes. Like it sort of starts off and it's like, okay, no, not bad, and then it's like as it keeps going on, you're like, oh, these are getting really good each time. Like these are all getting solid. But yeah, this was one of those ones. Yeah, Superman's being used as a giant, literally Kryptonian battery. Just like one, that's like I'm not paying no solar charging bill here. No, I'll put the solar in the machine. Like
he didn't vote for Jimmy Carter. Yeah.
No, God, yeah, he was up there for Ronald Reagan ripping those solar panels off.
Just fist bumping. They kept on doing it. Yeah.
They're like, oh, we're gonna take our shirts off. Look, I got the monkey from the movie I was in, and we're gonna rip these panels off that dirty Jimmy Carter.
Dirty hip, peace loving hippie. And then but then I do think it's kind of interesting the way the comic goes, because I feel like it starts off kind of like, I mean, even though it's Superman, Brainiac Tech, and Lex Luthor, it doesn't start off super huge. It's more, it does really seem kind of like an episode of the week kind of thing, not like a big continual story, but it's good though. And then it goes on to two big arcs back to back. And, Jason Todd is the lingering thing throughout most of this. It's kind of like Justice League Unlimited, the way, because Justice League Unlimited had an overall story that kind of sprinkled in hints and foreshadowing, and then it built up to something big at the end. Where this is kind of it's doing that, but then the last 2 or 3 issues are kind of more chill, kind of all right, wasn't those 2 big stories fun? Let's do a smaller, simpler story.
Yeah, no, it kind of does something like that, because after your big arcs or whatever, that's well, we're gonna celebrate Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas with Scarface.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was thinking they never did have Deathstroke in the animated show, did they? No, they had they never. This is where they had Teen Titans, and for a minute there's 2 versions, I think. An earlier version of Justice League, they were all going to have. They weren't going to all have a sidekick, but Robin was going to be there. I think Kid Flash was going to be there. Maybe Speedy. You would probably minus one of these people off. It's either Kid Flash and Speedy, and then I think Donna Troy. It was there's going to be 3 kids there. And then later they're that's going to be too crowded. We're not doing that. And then they later said, we actually want to do Teen Titans, and they were going to go with something more within the same universe, but then they went back no, we'll just have it be its own thing. So we have to stay consistent with the other writing team. Yeah, I know that kind of makes kind of sense there, because I was thinking about that too, because some of these ones too, it's sometimes, Batman, Superman, Justice League, sometimes those shows sometimes kind of run together in your mind of okay, which one did that happen in? Which one did this go in?
Because this episode, Batgirl pops in, Batgirl and Supergirl team up, and you're all right, was that Superman or was that Batman? And then you think just kind of that type of stuff sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I like how in this one here, Clayface comes out and he's just pissed that somebody's remaking his movie, which just seems like a logical one for Clayface to come out and kill somebody over. It's you know what?
I think that's happened before.
I felt like that probably has too. That's probably a very common Clayface story to kind of bring in there.
It either happened. I know for a fact it happened. I want to say that was the original origin of Clayface. Somebody they're making a remake of him, and he was some because he was a horror movie actor who has always played monsters and characters like that. And I want to say that I don't know if it was this because I didn't check the name, because they say they always make a point to say the name of the movie and the star in the movie. So it wouldn't surprise me the least bit if this is a callback to his original origin from the 40s. But it wouldn't surprise me the least bit if this was also something from the show too.
Yeah, it looks like the movie on the title card here says Gangbuster. The legend continues. So it almost sounds like it's a sequel, and they just didn't pick him up for it.
Yeah. I wonder why.
Yeah, exactly. So after that,
and they even call back to because there's an episode where Robin, because they show the girl on the cover, but it's almost kind of it's almost trying to bait you in, because there's an episode where Robin meets a girl and you find out this is a girl that gets separate from Clayface and forms her own personality, but Clayface is no fucking woman is gonna be. I didn't produce a woman, and just absorbs her and becomes part of Clayface again or whatever. So, I think it was kind of interesting that they did that just for a second, but Robin's no, fuck that bitch. I ain't falling for this shit again.
yeah, no way. Clayface's daughter. As he kind of goes through there too, and then it's you get sort of Deathstroke starts showing up to save the day, and at first he's everyone's oh, he seems friendly enough and so on like that, but everyone's I don't trust him. He carries a sword around. I knew him from back in the day.
And his name is Deathstroke. He didn't know him. He knows someone else coming in later.
Oh, I guess that's true. That's what well, yeah, there's that one too.
I will say, some people will complain about this being kind of pandering, but I think it kind of works for this type of, for an ongoing series, especially with something with as much history as Batman. But I think that it's cool how if they have a moment just to plop a character in there, they do it and they're on to the next thing. Like they have the Rocket Roxy or whatever her name is come in for a minute, and it's not like a big deal. It's just, oh yeah, I was fighting Rocket Roxy. Meanwhile, while you guys are doing this or something like that, you know?
Well, this is the one thing, and I know we've said this many a times in like for like live action movies to take advantage of, is stuff like this is really one of those things. It's like a very small thing. It doesn't take a whole lot, but you just throw in just a little moment like that in there, and sometimes that adds just that one extra layer. You know what I mean? Like, oh, cool. There's just a cool little reference to another character. You know what I mean? At least it shows they kind of exist there. Sometimes even if it's a little quick action scene, it just fills in a little bit more depth, you know? And I mean, for this one, because Batman the Animated Series, you can throw in there, which I kind of like, is they'll use the new characters as like the big ones that it didn't get any screen time. And then a lot of times, like reoccurring characters will just have moments.
Yeah, which I'm sure they would eventually Joker has more of a moment, but I'm not sure we got to read the other graphic novels, or assuming this series is still going on, which I don't know if it is.
I'm guessing it probably ended at 3, because that was all that they had on there, and that probably would have been, let's just say, maybe 2001, 2. I mean, 2021, 22. That would have ended that.
Yeah, I mean, assuming it went on, it wouldn't surprise me if they eventually pull in like a Riddler story. I mean, I honestly think like I wouldn't mind like other characters being featured, but if you are going to do this thing that continues the series, because the last one doesn't. I mean, you have characters that were never presented in the show in there, but they weren't the focus. Like the last issue, it is literally just like it is Scarface, Harley, Ivy, and Joker. And then other characters are at the Christmas party, and we just get to see them, you know? So it's kind of like, so there are the ones where they don't, it's not just like, guess who else is new, you know?
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, for the most part there is. But I'm just saying, like, I guess the major storylines all kind of have somebody. It's like, oh, okay, here we go, you know?
Not to be like, actually, if you think about it, according to issue.
Practically.
Yeah. Fucking Mandark pops up, yeah.
I just love this line too when like Batman's talking to Gordon when he just like disappears like usual. I just like Gordon's just like, some nights it doesn't even pay to look. Just
yeah.
Fuck it.
Well, it reads as somebody who's definitely it reads as someone who definitely knows these characters when you read it, just because I feel like even though this is like, because this isn't, I wouldn't say this is completely PG. It's probably PG-13. You know, it doesn't go full on R, but it's like tiptoeing from PG to PG-13 because there's a couple darker scenes, and they say hell or damn once or twice. Yeah. But overall, it's still a, you know, I think, I mean, it is definitely more aimed at our generation in that way, just because it does do this thing where it's like, hey, do you guys remember the animated Batman series? Huh? Do you guys remember the animated Batman series? Oh, yeah, that was the best one. No one's ever came as close as that. Like, you know, and then like, oh, we're bringing it back. Oh, you are? No, that's lovely. You know, and then you're reading it and just like they are doing all these callbacks, but they are bringing in things you wouldn't expect there to be, or things that never went on long enough to see into the animated series. So, and everything still feels like it's there. Nothing seems too uncanny or like panderish in that way.
Well, and that's one thing I do actually appreciate about is that they kind of still keep it sort of capped at like, let's not go too much higher than about a TV PG thing. You know, I mean, it's a comic book, so comic book signs always have a little bit more, but like, because sometimes that's the other thing that sort of happens too, and like what I'll almost call like some of the fan fiction kind of continuation type stories, is that people go, well, you know what I want to do? I want to crank it up and make it seem way more like intense. You know, this is how I would have done Batman back in the day when I was 7 years old and listening to like fucking Kid Rock. You know, like that's like the thing is like I feel like some people get that where it's like, okay, now it's almost kind of nice when it's wrangled down. They're like, no. It's not like this isn't the rated R version of it. It's like let's treat it like we still have somewhat restrictions, you know, because I think that kind of keeps it balanced into like the way that it kind of needs to be. As I said, yeah, this one just turns it up just a little bit more, maybe, you know, just a little bit extra blood, some light swearing, but nothing too much that, you know, there's no like fuck Batman, you know, or anything like that kind of in there just to try to make it seem risque.
I think you can get away with an Elseworld R-rated Batman movie once in a while, But on average, I think Batman, when it comes to like the movie screen, I think Batman probably should be PG-13, just because he's a all different levels of Batman. But on average, I think if you're going to see Batman in the theaters, if there is an R-rated Batman movie, I'll be there. And let's be honest, the newest one was more or less R-rated. It was just they probably had trouble with the rating board around that one, just given things that were in it. But at the same time, on average, I think this is the right tone. Just like take it seriously enough, but also don't bombard it too much with all the, because I feel like sometimes when they do just take the reins off, people go fucking a little too wild sometimes. Like there's that, like when they said, you know what, I mean, it's not even R, it's PG-13. When they did for the DC animated movie, like straight to DVD movies, we're going back to Justice League Unlimited and Batman. Like, this is gonna be the best shit ever. And like, those are two of their weakest movies, just because like, well, our Harley Quinn's gonna be more like an adult comedy, which the Harley Quinn adult comedy show is good, but this movie was very meh. And then they had it just
introduced me to a really good song, is what that movie did.
that don't turn your love on me, baby. That song.
Yeah, that song. Like that. I'm like, that was the best takeaway from that movie, was that song.
Yeah, Rob Paulson doing karaoke to that. Yeah, and then you have whatchamacallit. Then you have the Fatal Justice League versus the Fatal Five, which had a fantastic cast of characters, but a very weak whatever story
of the entire movie.
Which you want to assume that for like. We're back to Justice League, the Justice League DC AU, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And obviously, it's like, I don't mind a Batman, like a rated R Batman movie, but I just think because of this is animated series, I just think like keeping it in the animated series tone, I think it is, which is kind of nice. It's kept there. It just doesn't feel like it's changes too much. You know what I mean? It's exactly kind of still continuing on and whatnot. But
yeah, well, I just to clarify, I wouldn't have a problem with it either. I just think on average, I think Batman is probably a good baseline for Batman's PG-13. But when Batman goes R, I don't mind.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I also like here when we go back to the comic and stuff, and Slade's trying to, like, in a sense, trying to like be like, hire in like the Bat kids,
poach his employees.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's showing up. You're like, hey, how much does that Bat pay you? Come on, let's be truthful. No one's recording this. You're not gonna get fired.
I was really blown away by the buffalo dazzling wings you served me the other day at Chili's, but at Applebee's, do you have how'd you like to make 50 cents more? It's kind of a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like he's like you guys work in union? It's an old Slade Wilson here. We got all kinds of benefits here. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of bennies you got, Batman?
Best benefit: cash under the table.
Yeah, exactly. No tax.
IRS
doesn't pay taxes either. Like he's so proud of it. He sung it in a song.
Well, even this one going on, like moving on forward, Deathstroke, because basically Deathstroke does a little bit of this long con thing where he's trying to get close to the Bat family because he knows, and the whole time Jason Todd's watching, he knows that like the Bat family is always kind of like, well, it's always about Batman, and they're all kind of on the same page as Batman. I don't know who this girl is that comes in, the girl in the crop top and the purple and the ponytail. I'm not sure if she's from something.
I want to say I did see her before as Deathstroke's kind of like partner, just like Lex Luthor kind of has, and so on. With
it's not his daughter. I don't think it's his like Marcy type or whatever.
Marcy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I've seen her before in something or another that I read. Like, I almost want to say like an '80s comic back in the day that had Deathstroke in it. And so,
that could be the case.
But I couldn't pinpoint it either. Too, I couldn't. I was like, it's one of those.
They're making too much of a big deal over not to probably be something from the comic.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking that probably Deathstroke did have some kind of, and who knows, maybe she's even one of those like even oddball like Teen Titans characters that left right away or something like that.
I don't think she's Rose or whatever, because Rose I think is his daughter, and I think her hair color is different too. But I don't think her name's Rose even. But yeah, the whole thing with this is because he basically goes to Robin and Barbara, and he's being super cool with them, being like, "Hey, how would you like to join me? I got better benefits, cash under the table, all that kind of shit, And then we find out that he's being hired to go after Firefly. Or so he says, Firefly. And they go into all this lore with Firefly, which I kind of forgot. Because, I'll be honest, I would watch the show when it came on as a kid. And then when I got older, I binged the whole thing, like on Netflix or something. Like the whole thing. And then since then, that was like probably 10 years ago. Since then, I really haven't gone back. I might watch a random episode or a random clip. So it's not all really as fresh in my mind. But yeah, I'm like, I think Firefly is a character you could do more with, because he always is kind of like one of those people like just like the fire, it calls to me. But even though, spoilers, this isn't really Firefly, I feel like they do a lot with what the character could be or character could do. I mean, because he's a character that whenever he even pops in the comics, he's almost just like smacked away. Like, all right, that was fun for half an issue.
Yeah, Batman's like, get out the giant fly swatter again.
Little like buzz zap, the electric buzz zapper thing.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like we gotta call Clark's pest control. Clark! Superman comes flying by.
With like just a thing of raid.
Yeah, we'll take care of this problem. But yeah, even this picture right here, just Batman's. It just looks like he's this big brooding guy just beating this guy up like fucking nerd and your flamethrower, trying to take away his prom queen.
It does look kind of like his ex-girlfriend was like a pop star or something like that. I think I remember something about that vaguely. But
yeah, I kind of too. It's all kind of coming together there, and then now Firefly's he's like, oh, I lost my girlfriend, so I'm just obsessed with bugs now.
Kind of incelly in that way, yeah. And then they even have even in small flashbacks, you're kind of like, remember that time Batman fought Mr. Tusk or whatever? Like, oh fuck, I forgot about Mr. Tusk. And then
and he fucking hammers him right to the face.
Actually, you know what? I'll be 100% honest. I don't know if Mr. Tusk ever did pop into the animated series. I really don't remember.
I know think he did.
I know what's her name. I know the Carpenter never popped in, because that's a Paul Dini character that popped up. I'm sure she's popped up in other books since then, but I remember right when Bruce Wayne disappeared for a while, there was an anthology series going on about just random people in Gotham City that aren't Batman. And that character, the Carpenter.
It's a story. Well, what's it about? It's about random people in Gotham City. Oh, that sounds interesting, but they're not Batman. Oh, I don't know if I want to read that anymore.
Well, it's villains or like sidekicks. It was a lot of like the D and C characters. What are they up to? I think it's called Streets of Gotham. And that character, the Carpenter, was one. She's basically she's a fixer-upper for villains, which I thought was kind of an interesting concept. And she was the main focus of an issue or two. So now, and I think she's a Paul Dini original. So now here she is dropped in this, which I thought was pretty cool. He's just doing the fucking baby killer right there to the gut, though.
Exactly. Batman's just raging havoc on all these guys. Smashing fucking Walrus right in the face. He's got those two twin guys or whatever, just giving them brain damage. Just like, Batman don't care.
Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Tweedledee and Tweedledum, maybe. I do think that's an interesting thing for Firefly to actually use bugs that they don't ignite and flame or anything. But I just think, just mix it up. Something other than a jetpack and a flamethrower,
Yeah, I actually thought that, Firefly's put together kind of cool, or this variation of him, even though we learned that it's like, well, it's not the real Firefly, it's actually somebody else in the costume.
Using his equipment, yeah.
You met her, I can't remember, he shows up for like a split second here, so it's like, whatever.
Yeah, it's like, meanwhile, Batman was doing this, getting some cameos, then he fucked off. And he's like, my boy, he's in trouble. And he swings out the window and he's like, stranger danger, when he sees him with fucking Deathstroke. And they have the whole fight with him right here. And I want to say, I don't remember the main plot, because we find out that he's actually, this is all an elaborate ruse, and Firefly is actually the girl, Deathstroke's sidekick. And I don't remember what their main goal was. I think they're doing something to I think they've been working for Jason Todd. No, they weren't working for Jason Todd. That happens later. But I don't remember what their main goal is here. Well, I'm sure it'll come back to us here in a minute when we're flipping through. But yeah, I do like how they get across that, like, oh, you put together that's not the real Firefly, because later they show the costume is busted. You see, he got punched in the face, and the girl just has a black eye. Like, oh, okay, that's how we know.
Yeah.
Then you think like, no, that we just she fucked up my coffee. That's all it is.
And I slammed the door handle into her eye.
They're totally unrelated. The fact that Firefly's like eye is busted and her eye is fucked up, they have nothing to do with each other. Trust me.
Well, Batman, she was like, I want you to get away from my kids. Don't you dare talk to them. Don't you be spouting those lies of unions into their brains.
You've been hanging out on the field after soccer class is over. That's kind of fucking weird, isn't it? It is kind of weird when I know they're all warriors. I know they're all they're all vigilantes and crime fighters. But it is weird when some dude with an eye patch and a fucking Errol Flynn look to him comes in and he's like, "Hello there, you strapping young man. Tell me, have you how is your dad? Is he good to you?
Yeah, he's just rubbing your shoulder.
Do you wish you could do more?
Here's $20. Go get yourself a popsicle."
Yeah. That's a lot for a popsicle. Get as many as you want. Oh, fuck him.
Yeah, that's what
Batman doesn't love. You have popsicle. Batman's not around, is he? Oh, that's fucking true. You're right.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's going on there. And so Batman's just like, no. Batman don't pay overtime. Batman, you work for justice, freedom, and the American way. None of this union crap. None of these bennies. Slade's just going to take it away from you anyways. You can't trust him.
He's gonna lead you with popsicles. Trust me. He did it to me once. I ain't gonna let you fall for it.
Yeah, they're real good popsicles, though. Don't get me wrong. They're not the kind you can just go get at the grocery store any day. Because Batman don't got a problem getting regular popsicles. They just give them to me. If I show up in there and I just give them a stern look, they give me them. No questions fucking asked. That's what Batman.
I be wearing my mask. I just walk in. I just plop him right. I walk into to Albertsons, slap it right on the register. I just stare at him blankly you're famous, Mr. Wayne. You may take it. And just walk right out. That's what I do.
That's what I do. And then I throw the trash on the ground because, famous people, we don't take care of that stuff. That's another person's problem.
I open the box. I have one or two. I see a homeless kid on the side of the street, and I just pour him out on the pavement in front of the homeless kid for him to watch. It's a fucked up, yes, but I'm rich. It makes me happy. I can't explain why. It just does. But you know what? I saved the city 800 times, so I can have this.
My joy is that once I walk away, knowing that they've already melted into the ground, that he will run over there and lick the turf, hoping that there is some form of flavor left. But he won't find it because you know what? It's gone by this point. Maybe a little sticky is all that's left.
That's why you don't do that in winter. You only do it in August. But yeah, here we go. Here's her with the black eye and the fucked up Firefly costume. And he actually, oh yeah, that's right. He's working for Luthor. That's what he's doing.
Luthor's putting this all together at the beginning.
Which, how did Luthor get out of jail? I guess it's Luthor, so of course. But that's right. He's working for Luthor, and because he's still sore about Batman, basically. And they basically just do this usual thing. They come together. Jason Todd actually sends them a few warnings because he's kind of more well, they're not the ones that are. He's not gonna be the one to defeat Batman. I'm gonna be the one to defeat Batman. So he kind of gives them a few warnings, hey, look out, but they don't know who it is. Just some mysterious figure.
Yeah, they keeps getting them notes and so on like that, and they're just like, who the hell is this guy? And Batman's like, okay, here's the thing. This is the only safe thing left to do. Is me, Batman, needs to go up Deathstroke. You kids stay home. We're going to figure this out together.
Which, when they get out there, I want to say that that's where somewhere in the middle of this, he realizes it's the same person. It's not, I think somewhere where he realizes they're working together in there somewhere.
Yeah, he does at some point.
I read the book just today. Oh, that's right. He has the flaming sword. He comes out with the sword from Jean-Paul.
Yeah, and he starts coming at him with that and so on like that, and that's where he kind of realizes. But there's something in there that does kind of change it. The book's big, so it's easy to get kind of lost. And I started earlier this week.
Yeah, I read it all today. So I do think it's kind of funny how like he throws like he catches on fire and he looks cool and he says like, well, which I'm not complaining so much because Paul Dini and Alan Burnett are fantastic writers, and he says like, says he says like, hey, well, all it does is make you look more menacing. It's not like you being on fire. It's not going to help. Yeah, well, I'm living Kevlar. I'm wearing Kevlar. Like, what happens if the Kevlar heats up? Oh no, he's getting out. Like, did you need fucking like Batman to tell you that? I don't know. It's like you're a master assassin.
Like, it's fucking awesome. I'm on fucking fire. Look at me. I'm so cool. I'm fucking Johnny Storm right now.
I mean, they do think it's one of those things where like, I feel like something they did with Slade is because I do like Deathstroke. He is a good character, but I think making him more of like a Green Arrow Batman villain makes more sense than Teen Titans. Because like, why is this master? I mean, I understand like a few times, but after a while, it becomes like, dude, you're getting your ass kicked to children all the time. Come the fuck on. So I understand why, like, well, if he's gonna be that badass, let's make him fight Batman more often. Let's make him fight Green Arrow more often. And over time, I feel like he got more adopted by Batman as a villain. Yeah,
but I feel like, yeah, Teen Titans, he is an origin, but I feel like as time has gone on, it's like he you know, you'd almost say in the last, like, I'd almost even say last 20 years, he's a Green Arrow Batman crossover villain.
Yeah, and I think it's funny they just clonk him in the side of the head with a fucking like this whole big battle. He's like, you're gonna face against me now, and they just throw him into the fucking fire hydrant, and Batman puts him out. I'm only doing this because I have to. Fuck this guy.
It'd be funny if there's another panel there like, Batman, you gonna put him out? No, wait, I will. Just give it a moment.
You see him just chugging a Mountain Dew, label out to the camera.
Yeah, we'll get there. Oh, okay, I guess I'll put him out now.
Oh fuck, it's flammable.
Yeah, one of those ones like that there too. I think this is where they start deciphering some of these notes that they've been keep getting in here and whatnot. Yeah, I will say this in this book, I wish they do this like where Ty Templeton puts these little designs in beforehand. I think this is like one of the worst things that somebody could have thought of. These should have all been saved towards the end of the book because let's just say for somebody who was maybe not like super into like all this stuff, this gives real bad spoilers to a lot of these characters coming in. Especially once it gets to the Jason Todd one. Like, if you weren't too sure about that, it tells you right at the beginning. You're like, before you know, like, are you sure? Oh, I don't know who this guy is. It's just like, Jason Todd, new design, red hood. And you're like, yeah. I start saying, but I'm like, that's like that kind of stuff where it's like, dude, like, yeah, if you're like, you know, indoctrinated into, you know, Batman lore and, you know, DC logic and all that stuff, but like for somebody who maybe just kind of barely knows it, like that, I feel like you just kind of screwed that over for them. Even this one, it's not as bad because most likely nobody knows who the hell Azrael is yet. If you were confused by that point, but even still, I mean, I know he's on.
It'd be nice to be surprised. He's on the cover, but it would be nice to be surprised. Like, dude, fucking Azrael's in this one. But he's on the cover, so and they make it out to be like a Catwoman Batman team up against Azrael, and like this is one of the cases like, oh, that bitch is out of there real fucking quick, you know. So I'll say I even like a lot of the redesigns in season 4 or whatever. I like. Catwoman is like one of the only redesigns I don't like. Like,
yeah, it's weird because like the one thing I will give credit in this book is when we get farther on, they use the original Joker. They don't use the Joker Model 2, which is good because that Joker Model 2 is kind of a crappy one too.
I actually like that Joker. I prefer Model 1, but I actually like that because I like the black eyes, like he's a shark or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, it does have merits. I mean, I'm not saying it's not god awful or anything like that, but it's just. I think it's like the Catwoman one just feels like it's very like it's like someone didn't finish the drawing. That's what it feels like. It just feels like, oh, that's all you did. She's in a silhouette. She's also
her mouth is also like she's almost like the Bride of Frankenstein with her fucking mouth being like a pale blue or something. Yeah.
You know, yeah. I just always thought that was just one of those ones. Like, I mean, I get it. Probably for the animators are like, finally, Jesus, someone gave us something easy to work with. But
yeah.
Because I think that's literally what it was all about. It was like, how do we make this really easy to animate?
Yeah.
Now they want to unionize because fucking Deathstroke showed up to their fucking Taiwanese like animation studio. Fucking
just a picture of just like a propaganda picture of Deathstroke with his fist up or something.
Unionize. Get paid more. Get those bennies you deserve. No more overtime.
In his fist, he has a bunch of
Don't
popsicles.
let fucking Paul Dini and those other assholes take all the credit of your hard fucking work. Even worse is those fucking voice actors are the ones walking away with like all the credit when there's some fucking nerd comes to the Comic-Con, they think that guy did everything. That fucking guy. Nobody even brings your name up, do they? No, they don't. And how many drawings have you done of Batman? Oh, just 10,000 per episode, huh? Yeah.
R.I.P. Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, good old Kevin Conroy.
Your buddy.
Well, I always think about that when you go to a Comic-Con. Like, nobody gives a flying fuck about that animator who did all that work there, who actually did all the hard, heavy work. The actual, let's be honest, the real work.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. That guy probably hasn't seen his kids in years. He doesn't even know if he has kids anymore. He's like, I had a dog. I saw it when I got it, and then I came home to its funeral. I still had to go back to work the next day.
That WB frog was out there like, so someone thinks they can take a fucking break, eh?
He's like, club any of those union people coming around here.
He's gonna dance while he does it too.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Azrael comes in this here and whatnot, and pretty much slap the Catwoman out of the way, be like, fuck it, that's not your story now. You thought it was, you know. The Azrael's kind of interesting. I feel like he's sort of written a little bit different in this one here than he is, I felt like, in the handful of other few books I've ever read with him in it.
The only book I've actually ever read Azrael in is, I feel like more often than not he's portrayed as a villain now, but
maybe that's
because I've read when he first is introduced and he's just a cop, and then he finds out he has this ancient lineage to like this order, and then when Batman gets his back broken, he's like, this guy's pretty good. Hey man, can you fill in for me for as Batman while my back's fucked up? And then he starts to go crazy and like, oh, red flags. Oh, this guy's actually, he's fucking crazy. He can't be Batman. So Batman has to work out, get back in shape, and beat the fuck out of him to get his suit back. And then from there on in, I don't really know how back and forth he's been with being good or bad. I don't really know how. I'm assuming he's just more of an anti-hero as time went on. But in Arkham Asylum, he was a bad guy who was like a mini boss. He had to fight. But even this though, he's more of a guy he's a guy Batman trained with back when he was doing his training across the world. And he says, I recognize this fighting style. Oh, you're John Paul. We've trained together. Only I left before all the fucking kooky, culty, religious shit happened. You don't believe in Jesus, dude? Fuck, no, I have science, bro, no.
Yeah, I love
I believe in bats. I believe in money, fuck.
Yeah, just like one of those ones like Batman's like, oh, I went there for this, to learn all the martial arts skills and shit like that. The second that they brought that fucking Bible out and so on, oh, get the fuck out with this. Batman none of that.
They started lighting candles and every fucking Sunday. Fuck that. You can keep talking. I'm just grabbing some water. I can still hear though.
Yeah, John Paul's just like, well, it's actually kind of good. I think if you would have stuck with the classes, Batman, you would have heard that, they were offering some pretty good, educational stuff going on there, Batman. No way. I got what I needed out of it. I'm done. That's it. That's your problem now. I don't need none of this hokey dokey religion stuff. You know what I mean? And I let you be. I thought it was going to look good on paper. That I said, hey, you let the Jesus boy put the Batman suit on when you were out of town. You're like, yeah, I was trying to, get some votes in. You know what I mean? Get some of the Bible Belt states. Batman needs that every once in a while.
Oh, you're missing out. You don't get your free DVD copy of VeggieTales. I'm just saying.
It's got some good stuff in there. That's some funny stuff, I tell you.
I just he would be like,
I've laughed my rump off many a times watching those.
Just quite the knee slapper. I just like the idea of this guy just being not a bad or hateful or angry Christian, but just kind of just this very nice not open-minded exactly, but like that kind of like, we've all met those Christian dads who are Christian parents who are very nice. They're obviously like, well, you can't watch PG-13, but they're very nice. They're very chill, but they're lame as fuck. Like, they're very nice. They don't yell. They're kind of like, they're not going to be like, is that a metal shirt? You can't wear that in the house. What do you? They're nothing like that, but they are a little kind of like, So, but like the idea of that guy, but he's a master assassin.
Yeah, exactly. You got that guy who's real friendly. Just be like, what does your dad do for work? You know what I mean? Like, well, he doesn't tell me. He just leaves in the middle of the night and comes back. And I always kind of wonder. He goes back sweaty and, he's always covered in ketchup.
Yeah, he just comes in just like whistling. Jesus is just all right with me. Jesus, I don't think the Doobie Brothers. They always kind of like scared me with the name of their band. But that song, I'm like, these boys are okay. They need Jesus still, but at least they're singing about it. They're aware of it.
Yeah, they got Jesus. Maybe they should put down the Doobs, but that's okay. I'm not gonna, as long as you got Jesus in your heart.
Yes.
And, we always got Penguin sort of showing up in these stories too, and he's just sort of a backdrop character, just being like, everybody fucking uses my lounge.
He's just gonna he's just there to get smacked all the time.
Yeah, he's just like, it's, you need a place that, to rent out, you could at least ask me. No, they just barge in here, kick down the glass, melt my fucking ice sculptures just to make some fucking Kool-Aid.
Is Mr. Wing a character from DC Comics, I wonder? Yeah, Mr. Wing is a character from Oh, wait, no, never mind. This is for this comic. Never mind. I was seeing if there's another one, because I've never seen that character before, but maybe he's in other stuff. Who knows? There's a character called Wing, but I don't know if Mr. Wing, I don't know. That could be an original. It wouldn't surprise me.
Mr. Wing's my father.
Exactly. Yeah, this might be an original character. Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting a bunch of Batwing.
Well, there's a part where Mr. Freeze shows up. It's actually kind of ballsy. It's like, oh shit. He's working with Azrael or whatnot there because he's like, oh, they can bring back Nora. Like Nora's just like a fucking corpse at this point. She's not even in like the cryogenic freezing thing. And then Batman just like literally kicks the thing over. Like, the only way to reach him is just to show him what the truth is. He'd be like, look, your wife's fucking dead. She's a fucking zombie. Get over it. Get somebody new. Go to that fucking red light district that the turtles hang out in all the time. What's that? Horde dimension? I can't.
There's Dimension X and there's Dimension H. Right, Dimension W. Dimension WH. Yeah. It's late. I know I use use excuse all the time, but it's true.
It does affect stuff. And then.
But no, like they even go to the part of like looking like they throw a little bit of like, because Azrael's going after some magical cloth that from his religious order that has healing properties, and Freeze is trying to use that to bring Nora back to life. But the thing is, he's like, yeah, it's not going to work on someone who's already dead. It has healing properties. Well, we're just going to wait here all fucking day then. Like, well, no, we're not. Watch. Click. No, just and even like the part where like. Because it's also like, because you don't completely see Nora, but you see like they'll see her leg hanging out a little bit, or her arm, it's all shriveled and decaying. And then like you can tell there's like a bunch of little like decay and rot, like from seeping in from underneath the sheet, which is like, oh, they wouldn't have done that in the original version.
Yeah, that's definitely like the extra little level of darkness kind of there. So. And then I just saw Batman just shoots fucking Freeze in the face. Be like, now hold him for a while, there'll be ice on the face, never hurt nobody.
He's not as empathetic towards Freeze. After a while, it's like, you know what? You sometimes get those people that like, you feel bad for them, but after a while, they just start to prey on your sympathy too much. You're like, dude, you can't keep drama dumping on me about your fucking dead wife every fucking day, all right, man? Here, just kicks the fucking body over and shoots him in the face with his own freeze gun. Good enough. I gotta get the fuck home.
She's been dead for 25 fucking years, Freeze. Get over it.
Here, I invested in Tinder. Look into it.
Yeah, here we go. I'm trying to get Azrael here on it too, but he wants me to go light fucking candles with him.
He wants to go on Christian Mingle.
He's like, you ain't gonna find anybody on there. He next thing you know, he's me looking at farmers only.
I actually saw him sign up for Black and Christian too, so I don't know. I guess he's just he's tried a couple different out.
Yeah. And then this is where we started to get kind of like a little Joker introduced. Okay, I like how like, oh yeah, it's Jason Todd's like, well, how's he spying on him? He's riding the fucking Ferris wheel around a bunch of times. Sir, you want to get off? No, go around again. This time I'm gonna get a great view.
I do like the idea that it's not staying. He just waiting, like just misses it, just the vital thing. Just yelled at the guy down there, slow down. Like fuck. He just keeps on putting like a ticket down like each time. He goes.
Yeah, just one of those ones. Even this picture right here, I'll say, I wish this cover also didn't have, in a sense, Red Hood on there too, because that does sort of give it away. Just because you're building up to like this hidden thing here, I feel like you shouldn't have had that on there yet. You save that for the next cover when you're on like book 2 or part 2 of that story.
I also feel like it's a little bit of maybe Nightwing pops up in like a flashback in like a panel or two, but I don't think Nightwing's in this issue.
I don't think Nightwing's in this entire graphic novel, other than like fucking swinging back there.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that they don't bring him up. See, right here, this is the one that bothered me the most. It's like that gave away weight. It's like, okay, now you know 100% that's. Well, maybe I guess I'll say this. Maybe if you didn't know the connection that Jason Todd was Red Hood, if you were that kind of like new to the comics, maybe I don't know, but.
Well, it's also I think this is kind of interesting because this is where Joker, other than Red Hood, is one of the main focuses. I'm glad they didn't use Joker right off the bat. They kind of built up the Joker. And I think if you are going to introduce Red Hood, you have to introduce Joker to some capacity, I do think it's interesting he has like a new sidekick. And I don't know if this character is a callback to anything previously, to like a previous episode or reference. I thought they were making kind of like a Captain America / Nuke from Marvel reference with them. But this guy called Straight Man, which he's this big buff bodybuilder with like looks kind of like how you imagine Captain America would look in the DC universe, but he's just called Straight Man, Joker, Straight Man. So it's like, okay, I never would have thought of that, but that's clever. All right, and he just basically replies to whatever Joker lays up for him, and that's the thing. But he's also the muscle too.
Yeah, no, I actually thought this was one of the most interesting characters, and I really like Straight Man a lot. It's one of those ones where I'm like, man, I wish I would see this guy way more often and stuff, because I felt like he was actually a perfect balance to Joker, because he's the guy who's, literally like a Laurel and Hardy kind of thing, except for he also provides the muscle for Joker. It gives him just a lot to work with, I felt like it was it's like one of those ones, like, it sounds like on paper you go, God, I'm surprised no one thought about that before. It's like, that's really an ingenious type character to go along with the Joker, and it works so well, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it's anything just like so out of left field. It's just like, no, that's a perfect one to go,
As far as I can tell, this is a newer character for this comic. I don't think he's in anything else. I do see it's comic book resources, so it's kind of a shot in the dark how reliable it is. I see a thumbnail saying Suicide Squad recruiting Straight Man for Batman. Straight Man. Maybe he's a Suicide Squad character. I don't know, but yeah, I don't see anything for him other than this comic, really. But I do think that's I think he's a good foil to the Joker. Not foil, but a good like parallel to the Joker.
Yeah, no, I think definitely there. Red Hood's just been riding this fucking merry-go-round for the last like 3 hours watching him.
At this abandoned, it's an abandoned like theme park, which might as well be the theme park from I'm not sure if it's the Happy Mile or whatever, but might as well more or less be the theme park from Killing Joke. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it kind of has that there and so on. And of course, Batman's like, there's somebody else was here. I smell more than just a Joker.
Yeah, and he says like, and they quickly sum up like Jason Todd is here. Like, Jason Todd? Who the fuck's Jason Todd? And Robin's like, you mean tell me there's another Robin other than me? Like, yeah, all right, we'll give you the back flashback. Don't worry, I gotta go do Batman shit.
My suit's a hand-me-down? Yeah, Batman, I'm not buying a second one. You know what I mean? Like, if you get a hole in the crotch, you put a patch on it.
Well, it's like he's like, I have the money, but how do I hold on to that money? I don't buy new shit. That's what I do,
Well, I mean, except for me, but
Yeah, that's a me thing, you know.
But you're like, shit, Alfred's suit, that suit's from, that's from 1927.
You can tell from that bow tie stitching. Shit.
We literally, he just literally patched that bow tie in. That's not even a bow tie anymore. He just literally took a permanent marker and drew that in.
He sleeps in that. I've never seen anything else. Have you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then
But anyway,
Batman's like, well, I got shit to do. Alfred, fill him in on the story. Fill the boy in about the other boy story.
show him the exposition Blu-ray. You know, bounces out, and the wolves. I want to say the wolves are like a gang that were in the comics, but they weren't that big. I want to say, but they have like Jason's Todd's brother joined this group called the Wolves. What the Wolves were, they were just kind of like, they're more or less kind of like the mutants from Dark Knight Returns. Not how they looked, but just basically havoc for havoc's sake. Almost kind of like the gang from Assault on Precinct 13, kind of. And they would have someone look out. They would recruit younger, unseasoned people to be what they call the Cubs, and they would put on like a red hood to symbolize Little Red Riding Hood, and they'd have to look up, but they would always have to be the last to leave. So they would be the most likely to either get killed or get killed or get arrested. And Jason's older brother died in their gang initiation doing this. So he went in himself and fucking took these guys down, and Batman was trying to track him down and said, who the fuck's this kid who beat the fuck out of all these people? How did he find them? And then he realized, oh, this kid was tracking him down. This kid's really fucking good. I could use this kid.
Yeah, no, I kind of like that little Red Hood or Jason Todd sort of kind of alternative intro. I think that kind of made sense right there. I was like, that actually works pretty well. I mean, Jason Todd's always just kind of been, the kid on the street, up to no good. Taking the fucking wheels off the Batmobile like some kind of asshole.
Well, it's also, go back to that though, it's a smart way to introduce it, because sometimes you think, well, why is it this character? Why is it this? No, well, because that's what it was in the comics. But in the context of this, why would you do that? Like I guess Jason Todd was the Red Hood because that was the Joker's original appearance. That was the Joker's original not appearance, his original alter ego before he was the Joker, and he did it to get his attention, to lure him in and kill him. Of course, he didn't kill him. He's like, fucking him this far, I guess I'm Red Hood now. But this way, just like, okay, they're the Wolves, and they have a Red Riding Hood kind of thing. Like, okay, that kind of makes sense in this context. It all clicks together. Like, all right.
Yeah, no, it has one of those. It also has a weird ones like, well, we don't have any girlfriends, so whoever gets to play Little Red Riding Hood when we get home and get drunk together and get naked. It's gonna get weird. As long as it's not gay, as long as there's not that mirror in front of us.
Our minds aren't the only thing that will be open.
We're experimenting tonight.
Yeah.
Well, then Batman's like, we gotta get him out of there. No way is it, he can be a little fuckboy for the Red Hood, for the Wolf. I'm gonna train him to be my boy. I'm not my fuckboy. Don't look at me like that, Alfred. I know that the context of the previous statement now doesn't match up with this one, but that's okay. It's okay. We'll train him. He's my ward. It's gonna all work.
Keep up.
Yeah. Oh shit, he killed my dummy. You know how much that cost for Alfred? So is that what
I had to buy that second.
Well,
I had to buy that second hand.
Next.
I had to buy that second hand from Deadliest Warriors.
So Alfred keeps going on to explain the whole, okay, Jason Todd was there. He was kicking almost a little too much ass, in the process.
Well, they get a... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's to say, just like how much like brutality that sort of Jason would get into.
Well, I also there's this part where he's like, you know what? So he was a little too there's a part where there's a minute where he nearly killed. He tried to kill the Scarecrow, and then they also have Lockup in the background. One of these panels. Yeah, Lockup is
that's a great character too. That's kind of not utilized very much.
Yeah, he's in the comics every so often, but yeah. No, but he's going after Scarecrow, and he chucks Scarecrow out a window. I'm like, well, he must have got gassed by Scarecrow's fear toxin, and it was just like a flight or flight response. And then he looks it over for hours. I'm like, no, he wasn't. He he's that fucking broken. And he's just like, yeah, I did it, and I'll fucking do it again. Like, all right, Jason, you gotta fucking leave. And he just like kicks Batman in the fucking jaw, takes his shit and leaves. And then he says, like, you know what, I'm gonna keep on going, doing what I do. And wherever he does it, he's like beaten, like he first it showed like some bully shit, like he was just like he's like ripping apart like Scarface in front of ventriloquist. He's like, no, you know. But then like he's going and he's brutally beating the fuck out of all these villains. And I remember there's Scarecrow. There was, I don't remember what the middle one was, but the last one, the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of them, was he took an AK-47 and unloaded it into Killer Croc. And Killer Croc was like in like the recovery ward for like a year, like at Blackgate. So, and then, you know, like Batman goes and talks to like Leslie Tompkins, like, hey, Jason's back and he's starting some shit. And like, oh, that boy, Bruce, he brought in such an angry young boy. Maybe you can get back. Maybe you can get to him. Like, I don't think so. Oh, that's right. He took like, he like stabbed Clock King with like an arm with the second hand to a clock.
Yeah, and then like, yeah, it almost looks like he threw like Man-Bat into like the helicopter, but maybe not.
Oh, he shot his grappling hook through Man-Bat's wing, and then he kicked Penguin out the helicopter. Penguin somehow survived.
Yeah, that's right, because Penguin talks about that later in the book. He's like, oh yeah, that fucking boy kicked me out of a goddamn fucking helicopter. I was in the hospital for 6 months from all that.
That's how I lost so much weight.
I gained it all back though, you know.
His redesign, because that's original Penguin, and then the comics it's redesigned Penguin.
Well, I will say that was something else too. Is like I like how in these flashbacks is like they'll show like the old designs in like the flashback section. Where, like, which is I think just a cool little micro touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah. Then he shoots up poor Killer Croc, you know, which mostly nobody ever says poor Killer Croc, but then like when he just gets blasted to death.
And this is that. There is also Batman's like, I had to go get, like, there's a guy who always knows everything, but he's Sid the Squid, who is the guy who they thought accidentally killed Batman. Remember, it was like a season 1 or season 2 episode. Yeah, he goes to him for information.
That's right. Yeah, that's kind of the cool thing is like all the callbacks that they have in here are very like, oh, it all matches with the show type stuff.
It's organic too.
Yeah, it's all natural. It doesn't feel like, yeah. And then, you know, yeah, in this process, you know, Harley and Joker kind of have like a fake breakup type thing where they're kind of using it to sort of lure in Jason Todd back again. Or this might be part of the flashback still, actually.
No, this is part of the thing to lure Jason Todd in. Oh, we found out, so this is still part of the flashback, yes.
Yeah, no, because this part is, because this is the part where, like, yeah, Jason Todd, one, he gets electrocuted is how he gets that white hair in the front, you know. So that knocks out the little bit of the ginger he had going on there.
No, I was going to say real quick, and something else that he's been doing is he's been doing it and leaving it as like notes with the bat symbol. So people think it's Batman who's fucking all these people up. So people are thinking Batman is the one doing this. He's like, he's ruining our reputation. It's making the criminals more violent, and it's also making the cops move in on us. So we gotta go after Jason before he has a chance to. This thing with Harley and the Joker happens.
That's right, yeah. And then they kind of get a hold of him here. And they do, because I kind of wonder, I'm like, are they going to do, I wonder if they'll do the crowbar thing in here. I mean, it feels like you kind of have to, you know, but like...
They're not as brutal, but yeah.
Yeah, not as brutal, but still just enough to make it kind of work. Like I still feel like it almost could have fit in the show, even if it was just maybe like by the 2000s. Let's say if it was in the 2000s, you might have been able to get away with it, because the 2000s was kind of the time that things could go sometimes a little bit more intense. I know they have...
You can cut away, like he swings, but they cut away kind of thing.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. You know, you got Joker in here clubbing away and so on like that. To the point where Harley Quinn's like, whoa. Like, maybe we don't need to kill the boy right here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm all down for a good, you know, seal clubbing, but let's let the thing live at the end of the day.
But then I even like how Joker responds, like, what do you think? We're just going to give him a love tap, kiss in the forehead, and let him walk?
Yeah, it's like, no, because I remember, because Joker even has, I can't remember, it says earlier on that Joker has a reason why he's so, oh yeah, because Joker goes like, we got to kill this fucking boy, because the thing is he just so far hasn't been lucky enough, but he's been trying to kill all of us because that was Joker's fear. Is that like Joker knows that Batman won't ever kill him, so I think that like gives him a lot of freedom. But the fact that Jason Todd starts going Punisher on him, he's like, no. Next thing you know, we're all gonna be dead.
Where I think that's a really interesting thing because whenever they show Joker kind of like bending into like. I always think like Mark, because sometimes they make him kind of like all bark, no bite, but sometimes that was, I feel like that was more the censors of what they had to do. But when they wanted to, they would make Joker like animated series Joker was such like the perfect balance of like campy 66 Joker and serial killer. He was like that perfect balance. Because sometimes I feel like they go to like, you know, Saw, Insane Clown Posse, fucking Trailer Park, like torture shit Joker. I'm like, oh, fuck, I get it. All right, whatever. You know, I know that's how you would do it. But sometimes I think they go too far with that, where this is like the right balance, I feel.
Well, I always kind of like with Joker, I think should still always have some class. I think that's what makes it kind of more interesting is when he's not trying to be, just like demented, like almost like, you know, Sweet Tooth in a sense from Twisted Metal.
Yeah, like that.
Sweet Tooth, but like I don't feel Joker needs to be that necessarily.
Well, I actually, you know, I mean, like a lot of people, I don't want. It's not like I'm scared of clowns. I can't see a clown, but it's more of like I think clowns are just really fucking overdone, and it kind of sometimes takes me a minute to remember Joker's a clown. I just think of him as the Joker. When he has like a red nose and all that kind of shit, and there's the gags, like I don't really need that, but I kind of think like going back to the man. The Man Who Laughs, not the comic, but the movie it's based on, something like that, you know. Or I think one of the best interpretations of Joker is the to bring it back to not this story particularly, but to Red Hood. John DiMaggio's voicing of Joker and his representation in Under the Red Hood movie, because he's like that right balance of being kind of like he's kind of classy, but he still makes a lot of crude jokes. He's like barrel chested, but he's still not totally a brawler. He has kind of a Heath Ledger-ness to him, but he's not all like, nah. He looks like he can like take a punch, you know? And where I love Heath Ledger, I think he's the best live action Joker we've had, but I just thought he was like the perfect balance of all that, you know?
Mm-hmm. No. And that one almost kind of even gives him slightly like a Guy Ritchie kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Like he's a gangster type character. Because I feel that's what he has. I feel like he should be kind of classy. He should be kind of gangstery like, you know. But then at the same time, have just the little bit of the wackiness, you know, and crudeness too. But yeah,
the clown shit, I think.
There's a proper balance, I think, is the key thing.
I think the clown shit, like I understand why. I think the clown shit became more prominent like in the 60s and 50s and whatnot. But I think all the clown shit should almost be like the third or fourth thing about him. I think he should be, you know, Man Who Laughs, the old 20s movie first, or 30s, whatever it was. That first, then gangster, and then we could start getting like, okay, like the clown shit. You know what I mean? I think there's a couple things before clown.
Yeah, no, exactly. You know, here. And then, well, the interesting thing here is once Batman finally comes in to save Jason Todd, once he kind of figures this out, that everything's going down, and Jason's just like broken right at this point and so on. Of course, Joker has his goons just start shooting the helium tanks up and so on, just exploding this place. But in like the process, you know, Batman's like, oh shit, the Joker, he's trapped underneath a car. I better go save him real quick. Hold on, Jason, I'll come back to you.
And then like Jason's like, well, I'm not gonna let you. And he like, I like how he's like, what, 15? He's like, I'm willing to do a suicide mission and kill myself and you. Like, Jesus Christ. And he tries to throw the tanks into the fire, and then he's like, oh fuck, and he has to carry Joker out of there.
Yeah, exactly. Batman, just literally hauling off of that as Jason looks like he blows up in there and so on. And we learn later on. Actually, it's funny.
He escapes out of a balloon.
But you could see the balloon in this panel. I didn't catch that.
Oh yeah, you can.
You wouldn't have known it earlier on, but when he explains it later, it's like there's that balloon right there. And for some reason,
he escapes with the balloon
flying away or something too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you know the whole story, Mr. Tim. You know.
Yeah, as he catches Tim up to everything here and whatnot. And Batman goes. shows up. You think it's Batman, but it's not. But at first he's like, the biggest mistake I made in my life is fucking, bringing all these kids into here and whatnot. He's like, and I want to apologize. And I just like this line that like Tim has. He's like, you know how I knew you weren't Batman, Jason? He's like, Batman don't apologize.
And they start fighting right there, and then they end up having this whole like. I do think it's interesting because that's where it leads to Joker stealing, or like Jason Todd stealing Tim Drake and then taking him back, because this is like Red Hood before he becomes an anti-hero or a regular hero, because there was those couple of years where he just was a villain for a minute. But he goes to Leslie Tompkins and steals some shit, and he's like, I'm not going to punch an old lady, but I'm going to push an old lady over, that's for sure, And then he looks like he doesn't entirely want to like kill like Tim Drake, more in a way of like he just wants to prove like this, you shouldn't be doing this with kids, kind of like because he puts them into like basically a Houdini water box, and he's letting it slowly fill up, and he says like, well, Batman's gonna have to like save you or something like that. And I get the sense of like he's giving him outs. Keep in mind, I read this beginning of today, so it's not all as fresh in my head, but I feel like he wants to give him a couple of outs, but it's just like he wants Batman to prove his hypocrisy.
Yeah, I think that's where it's really getting to. He's just going in a very drastic way to say like, hey, you know what? Like you got to watch out here, that you can't just let these guys, the villains just keep coming back out of the roulette, and once again, yeah, like the childhood trauma maybe. But yeah, so once again, Iceberg Lounge is being torn up. Everybody seems to show up here if they want to cause some havoc. Like, I want to do it at my own house, you know what I mean? One of those things. Fucking Penguin's got a perfect pad for that. And then Red Hood goes out and pretty much just tranquilizer darts and brings a bunch of guys in to his master plan of having everyone tied up so Batman can come see this problem he's got going there.
I do think it's because, for a minute you think they bring down Straight Man, and he collapses he hits him with a bunch of tranquilizers. Like, this is enough to knock you and the clown. This is enough to knock out the clown or whatever. This is enough to make sure the big guy stays asleep forever. And then he collapses the chandelier on him, and you think, okay, I guess he's dead. And like, oh no, he comes back later. Like, oh, so I guess he is like superhuman, because Joker says something like, oh yeah, I managed to steal him from like, he's one of those Captain White House types, and he does it in quotes. And he says like, and I did some surgery on him before they were done, and basically reprogrammed him to follow for me and be the perfect straight man to my comedy act. So
yeah, because it just sounds like he has super soldier like serum type stuff in there, and Joker just somehow routed him out of there beforehand, and just gave him a lobotomy or whatnot and put him
which I am wondering if it's supposed to be kind of like Captain America or Nuke in that way, because when he says like Captain Whitehouse, unless I'm wondering if he's doing also a callback, because even if it's a parody, because sometimes they would still have episodes in the DC Comics universe where it was a parody of like Marvel stuff. There's the episode of Batman Beyond where it's like a parody of the Fantastic Four, and even Hank Henshaw, who was the who would become, what's his name, Cyborg Superman, was a parody of Mr. Fantastic in the comics. So I'm wondering if it's anything like that already, but yeah, who knows?
No, I think it's probably something similar like that, And I think it was in the process of like when Batman and Barbara are like looking at the Iceberg Lounge, they're like, there's some wet footprints here. It's like the middle of summer. It hasn't rained in weeks or whatever. It's like, and Penguin's just like, yeah,
there's ice.
Smelled like shit. Yeah, it's ice. It's ice. I don't. Yeah,
it works. She's right though. She's right.
She's right that fucking Red Todd, Jason Todd's been living down in Croc's like lair because he's put Croc in the hospital for like half a decade.
I do think it's funny because like Penguin has like this genetically engineered Birdman named Mr. Wing that does all his grunt work now. And even Joker makes one of the few like modern references where he says, this is funnier than those Family Guy chicken fights, because he sees like Straight Man tussling with this giant bird. And I'm like,
oh yeah.
initially I was kind of a little bit like, but then at the same time, I'm thinking like, you know what? I could have seen at the time, like them making a comparison to something like that modern at the time when it came out. You know, I know, and they even said something like, they even said something about 9/11 somewhere earlier in the book. So time has moved on, I guess. But yeah.
Well, and I kind of picture the story like where it's supposed to technically take place, I guess, would be like if this was like the 5th season. I'm thinking it would take place in about the mid 2000s. Like maybe it was like a comeback season. You know what I mean? Like it's been a moment. There's been some Justice League stuff and so on, but here it is, right? You know, along there. So I guess the Family Guy joke could work because that chicken fight does happen probably, give or take, 2000.
I imagine Tim would be a little older, but yeah. At the same time, though, I'm kind of imagining the Justice League fighting off like the Legion of Doom and all that kind of shit, and like 9/11 still happened. Like fuck.
Yeah, one of those ones where it's like that's kind of there too. I don't know. Who knows exactly? There's a couple of those lines that that's always a tough one to pull off. You know. Like, where's the most appropriate place for it? Where will it not kind of break the fourth wall? I mean, at least it's the Joker, so I guess if there's somebody who can break the fourth wall.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jason Todd's just, like, hiding out like he's fucking Pennywise in the sewer, looking up with his little tranquilizer dart gun.
Makes a reference to it, too.
Yeah. Pranks everybody, practically. Like, Trank's Batgirl just leaves her fucking on the street.
And then he takes him to Croc's lair, and Robin's still in Tim Drake. Robin's still in the water box, and he says, "Okay, if you want to release Robin, you have to kill the Joker, or the Joker has to or it could even be just being self-defense." And even I kind of like when they start challenging each other's motives rather than just kind of like, "Oh, I'm going to beat you because it's a good or bad thing to do." Like Joker, like he throws Joker a gun, like, "Go ahead and shoot Batman to give him a reason to shoot you. Let's just have a good old fashioned brawl." And like Joker's like, "Nah," and he drops the gun. He says, "It's funnier if he has to. I don't want to make him do it. I want to see him fuck up. I want to see you fuck up. I want to see, he has this whole logic of why."
Yeah, no. Yeah, he does have some great lines right in there too. As he's sort of like, saying about how he wants to go about it. Like, no, you're not the one who's going to make me and the Bats fight. Not at all. Like, and then Jason Todd's like, well, whatever, I'll fucking shoot you in the shoulder then. I don't give a fuck. Drops the crowbar. Is like, you beat the shit out of him right here.
Yeah. And then he goes at it more and he says like, "Oh, what's this I brought with me?" Because the other one, it was Joker didn't really get the edge up on him, but it was I wouldn't say he won. But in the original Under the Red Hood scene, because that scene is so good. Like, it's not as good as that, but I think you can't really just do that scene again just because we already seen that scene. It's already fantastic. So you got to put your own animated series twist on it. And I think this is a pretty good one.
Yeah, no, I think so too, because it does change it up just a bit, to make it feel fresh, yet still the same classic kind of core concepts. Also, Straight Man comes busting out, too, as it gets farther along.
And even kind of because we still see, because so far Jason seems like the person who's always ahead. He always has the plan. He always knows what's going on. And this is where we see his fuck up. And Batman's still kind of don't let him get too close. And he lets him get too close. And there's a beep noise. He's like, "Oh, wait. Oh, I forgot I had this on me." And Straight Man jumps up and he says, "Yeah, I planted a chip in it under his skull when I stole him, so I know where he is at all times." I could see he was looming. He was here. He was just waiting.
Yeah, like he almost still had his own plans going on in the background there, and whatnot. And then of course Batman and Tim Drake gets busted out in the process.
But Tim Drake just figures it out because he figures the right crack or the right angle, and he's like, "No Robin could get out of it." And Batman's like, "Only an amateur Robin can't get out of it," and just so this is where they do the thing where where we start to see Jason Todd. He's skilled, but he's not as good as he thinks he is.
It'd be funny if Batman knocks out everybody there and stand there, and then the water's still rising on Tim Drake. Be like, Batman stand there with his hands on his hips. Be like, "I'm still waiting for a good Robin to figure it out." Water's rising up real high. You're like, "Oh, Bruce, I can't fucking breathe. Well, I guess you're not a good Robin then. How are you supposed to be on the team if you can't fucking figure out a simple water puzzle? Shit. I thought you liked that Silent Hill stuff.
Shit. I guess I should have brought Aqualad with me.
Yeah. I mean, he would have just drank all the water like it was fucking Kool-Aid. I know it's sewer water, so that's kind of gross, but whatever.
Are you saying that because he's black? No, I didn't mean it like that. Don't fucking put those words in my mouth.
Shit,
God damn it, Robin. God
I mean,
damn it,
I know
Robin.
that one time that he was trapped in water, and I just thought it wasn't me. It's just happenstance that I poured a case of grape Kool-Aid in. Did not cross my mind. Did not cross my mind. I know that everybody brings it up every fucking year at the Justice League. Remember, Batman, when you had Aqualad in there and you poured the case of grape Kool-Aid out of all flavors you could have chose? And I just always pulled the thing. It was like, well, guess what? Which one was on sale? And then they look at me like I'm still making a mistake.
And I was even thinking like Kool-Aid. I was thinking like, there's, when you like sprinkle like food in there for a fish like that. They just happened the closest thing I had about it. Oh, it's Kool-Aid. All right, cool.
The fish food was 3 times more. Once again, how does Bruce Wayne stay rich? He does it, he spends money only on him and nobody else.
He goes to Big Lots a lot.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne, he's a, gold member there. Well, whatever. Tim Drake shoves his, pretty much shoves the cape into, like, the drain, and somehow that, like, cracks everything out. And then he busts free at the same time that the straight man's there. Big old brawl kind of ensues and whatnot. And then it gets to a point where Jason Todd literally gets stuck and thrown over the edge. And Batman's like, I can still save the boy. I can still save him. And Jason just looks at me and is like, forget about me. Save the real Robin this time. Keep the family safe.
So there you give him his out to possibly come back as a good guy later.
Yeah. Because it does leave on that nice thing that, like, I can see when, especially even just this comic book continuing on, I bet you Red Hood will come around, like, in book 2 or 3.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, maybe he doesn't, but I mean, it still took him some. Then we see he's with Slade and the girl, and then we have this short issue, or not short issue, but short little story where it's Harley and Ivy throwing a Christmas party, and actually focuses on the ventriloquist and Scarface.
Yeah, and before we get to that, I guess there is that. I forgot about the Slade part though. But the Slade, he literally goes like, "Hey, Jason, what's going on? You want bennies? Unionized, like paid overtime, like well, welcome to Slade Corp." So that actually might keep him kind of a villain for a while. I forgot about that one last panel. But then then we get to our bonus last issue with the Batman Christmas special with Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy deciding to throw on. They're gonna throw a big old Christmas bash and think that they can invite all the superheroes and not have the Joker figure out about it.
The supervillains, yeah.
Or supervillains, and not have the Joker figure out about it. And that seems like that's only gonna go wrong so many ways, and it does.
Well, I think I appreciate how simple the story is, because basically what happens is it opens up with a story about Batman going after Ventriloquist and Two-Face, and then he gets defeated, and then he goes to therapy, and it won't be the first time, but he basically gets talked out of no longer needing Scarface. Like, he's no longer, because basically for those who don't know, once he sees that dummy, it basically, his alter ego comes into play, and he's like beating himself with the puppet, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Scarface. You stupid mug. That kind of shit." So I think that in this story, when they open up, I thought this was a Christmas issue. Then we jump in like months later, a year later or something, and then it's like, oh, it's about him just trying to, like, not having a relapse, basically, at a Christmas party.
Yeah, exactly. And also, Scarface is one of those characters that's like one of my favorite Batman villains. I think it's that one that, like, there's people that probably aren't really into Batman who would look at that character and be like, how is that even really a villain? Like, how does that even work? How does Batman fight a fucking puppet? But it's like, I don't know what it is about, like, Scarface stuff. I think it's always one of the coolest, just almost like real, like psychopath type things. Is like, here's this guy, and he has literally a whole gang, and they're all listening to the fucking puppet, and somehow it works. Like, I really want to see somebody pull that off in live action. I just feel like it's going to be a hard sell to like the generic audience.
They're gonna have to make it probably very like weird, or kind of, they're probably gonna have to sprinkle on the what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of sawish, some of that type of shit.
Which obviously I'll take that. That's fine with me. I think if you have to get that in the movie by making it go down making it real dark and creepy and so on like that, that's cool. That's
like he is like
a little bit of the 30s gangster. That's the only thing I would kind of wish. But even if you did tone that down a bit.
Like ventriloquist has to have like framed pictures of like roadkill like in the hallway or some shit like that. I don't know, just something to kind of let you know that this guy is mentally off. But I do think this is a good story just because it's a very simple one. It's kind of Batman's almost kind of more of an afterthought. It kind of focuses on Harley and Ivy and their relationship kind of growing, and them just wanting to like have throw a Christmas party but not invite the Joker, and then Joker hacks into her computer and sees everyone who is invited, so he decides he's gonna go crash it and make a scene. And I do think it's kind of funny because it goes back to the whole like iceberg lounge thing, like because the carpenter, which is that Paul Dini character I talked about earlier, she's Penguin's out of town. He likes to leave. He likes to go like somewhere tropical for the holidays, so they're using the iceberg lounge while he's gone. They throw this big party, and then like the carpenter who has the keys is letting everyone in. They're just doing it, and like I just think it's not like Batman, because they're all watching, they're all waiting for something bad to happen, but it's not Batman who blows the whistle and makes this party go to shit. Like he finds out because he calls and he hears Christmas. He's like, "You're throwing a party, aren't you?" And he calls the cops, and he's like, "Oh, we gotta go. We can do the party down the road. Come on."
Yeah, it's fucking Penguin and everything like that gets fucking like pissed off that people once again are using this goddamn iceberg lounge for their fucking pleasure palace.
And they're using a bunch of like random like characters so a lot of them are characters I don't remember seeing in the animated universe, but a lot of them are characters that are like real passerbyers. Like there's little Susie or whatever, who's the little girl, who's the girl who couldn't age. Brown Rabbit. You have the Carpenter, who actually has like a scene here. You see Scarecrow, Mad Hatter, I think Condiment King, and Calendar Man maybe in the background somewhere. They had Ratcatcher. I saw Ratcatcher in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think so. And the Deadshot's in there.
Yeah, and the Kite Man, and then and then Captain Boomerang even.
Oh yeah, there he is right there. I do see him there.
But he was in Justice League though.
Yeah, and Phantasm's in there. Yeah, there's all sorts of like characters just throughout there, especially like now even just looking at it again and looking in the back.
I don't think it's Phantasm. I actually think that's Scarecrow, like his redesign.
Oh, you're right. That is. I forgot because that Scarecrow changes like completely in the new version.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I like his redesign.
Yeah, he does actually a pretty cool redesign. Yeah, and just the thing is just be like, hey, and then of course Joker's like, you know what? We're gonna fuck. We were invited to the party, and guess who fucking was? Ventriloquist, that little bitch. We're gonna fuck with him. We're gonna make sure that we get that puppet back in his hand and make him, go, relapse on a bender, on a puppet bender.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think it's funny. The thing that ends the party is just I forgot they pulled the menorah for a minute. I forgot about that. But like, I think it's funny. The thing that ends the party is like Penguin knows we got to leave, guys.
Yeah. It's like, well,
it's not
calling it. Yeah, it's not Batman. It's not anything else. Penguin shutting it down. And then everyone's like kind of being nice to like the ventriloquist, like, hey, we know you went straight. We know you're not really doing criminal stuff anymore, but we hope you're doing good. And here's some Christmas socks. He's just like, oh, well, maybe I'll have a Christmas hand sock. And then all of a sudden, Joker's waiting at his apartment with the fucking dummy there, Scarface dummy. Scarface.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, I just even like how they just like shove it back on his hand, like put the fucking puppet back on. Well, I want to put the puppet on. Put the puppet back on.
Well, isn't even the thing with Scarface is like the reason why they need him is because Scarface knew of some underground, like they need something from Scarface. Like they need like some, like one of his hideouts or something, and Scarface would know where it's at.
Yeah, that was what it was. Is because like that's the thing about ventriloquist is he's two different people in a sense. Like
Yeah.
he won't know any of that information, but Scarface will.
Yeah.
Because that's the other, because that's the thing I think it makes Scarface. It's like there's a lot of depth there. As I said, it's a hard like initial sell character to people, but I think once you kind of look at him more and everything like that, you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. How it's just this dude who literally has two different complete personalities going on simultaneously, like almost like he's like a man of two brains. And there's the mastermind criminal, which is the puppet, and then there's just the bitch, which is the ventriloquist, who technically is doing everything, but he just no way he can ever like put two and two together and just combine that. He is two separate people.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And then
they go on a chase or whatever to go find that secret lair and whatnot.
And for a minute when they said like, what's inside those candy canes at the secret lair? It's more than sugar. I'm like, what are they making? Oh, it's dynamite. Okay.
It's Scarface's secret stash.
I mean, it's Scarface, so you think that
it's not out of the question. Well,
I honestly think
it's old school Scarface, not Tony Montana Scarface. I think
yeah,
that's
I know,
but confusing too. Is people forget that like, oh yeah, there was that Howard Hughes Scarface movie, which is actually a really good one.
Well, in all honesty, I'm thinking I need to see that one still, but I'm just thinking about like Tony Montana versus Batman, and like let's be honest, we all like that's the '80s Scarface, but at the exact same time, he doesn't have the patience or the wherewithal to be a Batman villain. He would be like, he'd be too coked out. He would be planning shit ahead, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, he's not a Batman villain type one. Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, whatever. They find all the dynamite in there, and then they're gonna like they're doing a New Year's Eve explosion. That's what it was, right?
Yeah. And then the Batman and I do think it's kind of funny how they mentioned that like the since New Year's Eve, there's a bunch of express trains that we come in a lot more frequently, and they get I want to say ventriloquist does something. Well, first off, Batman like they just kick straight man into the train like, well, he's a superhuman, so this won't kill him, so fuck him, and Joker's being pulled away somehow, and then they say something to the effect of like, wait, ventriloquist actually delayed the explosion by this much, so you're technically a hero, you saved all these people. It's like, I am. That's the end.
Yeah, and Scarface gets ran over, so
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I think it's a good way. A good bookend.
It's just a nice ending book one. You get the nice little holiday story. It ends literally on New Year's, which is kind of an interesting way to go about it. And there's actually it ends with these cool like title cards, like if it was the animated series openings, which I think is kind of neat.
Yeah. I always thought their title cards look so good. They always had this like 40s or 50s kind of like a little more 40s kind of like noir kind of look to them.
Yeah. Like total serial style. I think they made a bunch of neat ones here for that, which is cool. But yeah, no, overall though, I was pretty darn impressed with this because as I said, like, I don't know, I always want to try those like continual stories where it's like, it's 25 years later, but let's give it a go, guys. And a lot of times when it's just other writers and someone like that, I don't know what, it just has that fan fiction-y, like it's somebody else's interpretation. It feels off. But this one here just felt so right in all the good ways. The stories are all great. They just get progressively better as it goes on. Taking classic characters, putting them in animated series style form, still continuing the lineage and so on like that. That I really look forward to see what book 2 and 3 kind of offers out of this because it's a cool run.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind checking out book 2 and 3. Maybe if things aren't too crazy in the upcoming weeks, we can, assuming we can still do any show, or I can do any show, we can maybe do these down the line. So. Yeah,
no, it'd be kind of fun to look more at that too. But yeah, it's good to get some classic Batman in there. You know what I mean? Sometimes if you go too long in life without having some Batman, just feels like something's really missing. That's how I always feel. Like every time I kind of go back and have a Batman marathon, whether it be an animated show, whether it be comic books or movies or something like that, you just kind of realize you're like, God, this is just so good. So good. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and this was also like what got me into Batman in the first place was this version of Batman. So
yeah,
it's kind of good to see that it still holds up. I mean, I know it's not the same exact thing, but it's good to see that it's from the same writing team, same art style. So it's still they still got it.
Yeah, still came together solid, but yeah, good times there. Yeah, if you go on Amazon right now, you can literally buy the Kindle versions of this and 2 and 3 for like give or take $2.50 each. I think I spent like $6 something to get all 3 graphic novels, which is just it blew my mind. I was like, this can't be normal. They're practically just giving this away. You know what I mean? Like, you know. But so yeah, it's literally a steal. But great stories. Check out Batman: The Adventures Continue. Season 1, I guess, is what they kind of title this book as. But I like to just call it Season 5. I think that's a better way to look at it. But that'd be confusing, I guess, if you're selling a book. But till then, all that fun stuff there. Go to oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comic books like Pizza Boys, all our old animation videos. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Zuniga.
And we'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.